time on the plane to just refine the concept of the lecture. And I always do that. Then I always start changing things completely on the plane, and nothing is what it was to start off with. So now this lecture for tonight is a kind of total reshuffle of images that I brought with me, like luggage. And like luggage, there's the kind of stuff you really have to bring. There's the stuff you want to bring. There's the stuff you think you will need and maybe you will not need. And other things you forget and you would love to have them but you don't have them, and so on. Anyway, I think that this kind of shuffle or patchwork does actually reflect a little bit of what I want to talk about. As Mosen just introduced myself, this lecture, kind of when we started talking about it, it was related to this lecture series you had here, looking at the relationship between design and space, or objects in space. And this is really what I thought I would talk about here. But then, anyway, the reshuffle. But this first picture is important anyway. It is it's a photograph by a German photographer called Peter Menzel. It's one photo of a whole book of photos. In fact, 30 photos, 30 visits to families in 30 different countries around the world. This project started in the early 90s, so it's a little bit dated. But the interesting thing about this project was, and in fact the project is called Material World. Peter Menzel's idea was to kind of an anthropological study of the world, or the world's population, of a very average families in different countries, and to portrait them like this, asking them to bring everything they have outside the house. And that photo would then be taken, the family, the typical family, in front of their typical house, with all of their typical things around them. So this is America for you in the 90s. Or Albania. Of course, there's completely different different scenarios, but I think what they all have in common is the kind of this mix of the kind of, let's say, the practical things and the sentimental things, and they create this portrait. They say a lot about the culture of these families living in the different countries. They say something about the countries, and it says something about the place. The whole book says a lot about our planet, about our life on this planet, and how each one of these families kind of finds their place on this planet, their house, but mainly the kind of objects they choose to live with. This picture, this is Japan. This was the first one that Mr. Menzel took, and he claims in the introduction of the book that he made this the first photo because he said if he succeeded to ask a Japanese family to bring all of their belongings out in the street to have it photographed, then he would be successful with this idea everywhere in the world. So here's Japan, and quite incredible the kind of the mass or the quantity of things that seems to come out of that little house. And that leads to another picture of another great book which has been so kind of inspiring and important to me over the years, a book called Tokyo Style, again probably from the 90s.